both critical and important for all of us, not just as Indians, but as citizens of the world. I also want to expand the topic a little bit, Urvi, beyond what you said. I think we need to understand the relationship between philanthropy, donation, doing good through business, impact investment, and doing good through sales and marketing budgets of organizations. All of these are actually complementary, and all of them have a real role to play. Since you're talking about philanthropy, I will focus on that, but I just want to leave this on the table that we always have to be careful when we bring these up, that there is a role for each of these in building our societies. First, I think it's absolutely important and critical for those of us who are fortunate, who have the means, and more importantly, have the ability to say yes or no. We must remember that we live in a country where 200 plus million people find it difficult to get 2 meals in a day. And another 200 million people will do whatever is offered to them because they do not have a choice. So we are doubly blessed. We are truly in a special privileged position. If I talk about our own family, my father, his brothers, my mother, and others were actually refugees at the time of independence. And like millions of others, they came across the border when their home suddenly became a foreign country. And again, like millions of others, they came with nothing. They left everything they had behind, their homes, their business, their properties, assets. And they started from scratch. They built for themselves in one generation, not just a business, but a place for themselves as responsible individuals and responsible families in society. So this started not today, this started 6 or 7 decades ago. Our way of saying thank you, reaching out and trying to do things which we believe will benefit communities and society. And now let me take a step back and talk about why it is important for all of us to focus on this a little bit. And there are 2 completely different angles I think we need to focus on. One is that there is for us a reason for reasons of ensuring that you do not have strife in a society where people are living in abject poverty and without access to basic facilities, amenities, and the quality of life is not what it ought to be. And it is important to understand that first, for a human angle, it is important for us to ensure a minimum standard of living for all of these individuals. If we do not do this, there is a serious potential for crime rates to go up. Because when somebody is starving, she or he doesn't care about what the rule of law is. They will do what it takes to provide for themselves and especially to provide for their families. For more than human reasons, we need to do this. On the flip side, and this is the big plus of doing this, is if you're able to provide a basic standard of living to most individuals, in fact, all citizens of the country, what you do create is higher aspiration amongst individuals to lead a better quality of life and to provide better amenities and facilities for themselves and for their children, for their family members, for their friends and colleagues. And that creates a multiplier, and that creates a virtuous cycle of growth, because all of these individuals will become consumers for goods and services produced by enterprise and business. And as they earn, their aspiration goes up. As their aspiration goes up, they are able to feed that if they have the ability to get sustainable economic opportunities. So philanthropy, I believe, has a really serious, big, and an important role to play. Government all over the world never have the wherewithal to provide everything that needs to be provided. It is therefore important that individuals and enterprise step in and play a role. And now I'm not talking of CSR, I'm not talking of donations now, or the minor donations we do. So let me roll back again a little bit. So in our family, we've restructured the family group, as some of you may know. But before we did this, we are a very large family, and we were lucky to have a large number of companies in the group as well. So we started doing this at 4 different levels. Every individual was encouraged to do philanthropy in the area that she or he likes. Just give me half a second, please. Half a second. So we would encourage every individual to focus on areas of their personal passion and interest. And then, as families, as a large family, we were doing something at the family level. We did the same thing for the companies. Individual companies were encouraged to do what they felt was important in and around their own areas of influence, and usually physically close to where the companies were set up. And then the fourth was at the group level, what we would do. And I'm talking long before CSR came in as a regulation or as a fashion. In fact, the year this conversation was taking place, I was president of CII, and I was encouraged on behalf of the entire industry to push back against government and say, this regulation is not a good idea. It might encourage people to fudge. In India, many people already like to do things without making announcements. The moment you force them to make an announcement, it changes the entire picture for them, and some of them might draw back. I have to say, however, I was wrong. This regulation got established, and we have seen in the last some years when CSR has been practiced, not everybody has done a great job, but some organizations have done a wonderful, wonderful job. So CSR, in addition to the philanthropy that we would otherwise lead, is also supplementing many of these initiatives, as does impact investment. Impact investment is actually business. It's going out and investing in those businesses which provide social goods, which provide facilitation for social goods, which provide infrastructure for benefit of society. Now, the one thing that we have said, and we are active investors on impact investment as well. And as Urvi was explaining, our areas of the areas that we work in, and not all of them are investment. I'm going to cover all of them together because bulk of them are done through philanthropy, is education, starting from basic primary education. In fact, last year we set up a pre-nursery, and our attempt in our education in all our schools, I think we have about 30,000 students studying in our high schools right now, is to make the learning experiential, practical, and value-based. In fact, interestingly, the new education policy that has just been announced, which in many ways is revolutionary, is actually a takeoff on what has been done in some of these schools. Since you mentioned Doon School, Urvi, Doon School already practices all of these. Looks at sports, debating, adventure as part of education. I think it's important that philanthropy itself also drives some of the policy making to make sure that the field is open, it's fair, it's transparent, and it allows you to do what you believe is the right thing. The second area in which we have been involved is healthcare. The hospital that I chair right now, Dayanand Medical College and Hospital in Ludhiana, runs both a medical college and a nursing college, and one of India's largest teaching hospitals. We are close to 1,900 beds in one location with 26 super specialties. And we have an unusual model that we've developed. The model is that our attempt is to provide best in class care to the common citizen of the country. Our equipment, training, research, and skills that are provided to all the healthcare workers are at the level of the best for-profit institutions. But of course, we are a complete not-for-profit. We charge 40% less than the for-profit. I'm talking of the top institution because we are as good as, our outcomes are as good as almost any institution in the country. 40% of what we earn goes towards supporting poor patients who cannot afford it. It still continues to make money. All that money is redeployed to continue to grow to modernize, and to improve our systems. We actually don't refuse any patient that comes in. Any patient that comes in, the treatment, they are admitted and treatment is started. And then we ask them, please tell us, do you have money or not? Do you have insurance or not? If you have it, of course you have to pay us. If you don't, we will support you. But inside the hospital, nobody is aware who is a full fee paying patient, who pays half, or who is completely free. So the treatment is exactly the same to any and every patient. And we do the same thing in our schools for the support and scholarships that is given to students. Amongst the many schools we run, one of the schools is specially focused on children of industrial workers. This was started because many of our businesses started from Ludhiana in Punjab. And almost all the unskilled and semi-skilled workers there come from Eastern UP, Bihar, and other parts of India. They're not local residents. They leave their families behind and they live a very difficult life. And they actually run two homes. One in Punjab where they're working, and two back home where their families are. So we encourage them to bring their families to Ludhiana. We said, we will set up schools that will educate your children. Our hospitals will take care of your and your family's health. And we will provide you support to build your own homes here so that the entire family lives together as a unit. Because as we all know, as a part of the social structure, a lot of the social structure that we currently run is broken. And a lot of the reason for that is poverty or lack of access to facilities. Even lack of access to justice has a big contribution in this. That school, of course, started many, many decades ago now. But today, in almost every year, if you look at the results in the schools in Punjab, it always ranks amongst the top schools. In the top 10 students passing out every year, there are at least 2, 3, and sometimes even 5 from just this one school. And these are children, if they had not moved in here, would never actually have gone to school. So the idea is for us to realize that we are not smarter than anybody else. It is just the access and opportunity that got offered to us, which allowed us to do what we do. And the same is the case with these young children. They have done an amazing job. And as Urvi mentioned, the other area, of course, we also work on things like clean drinking water. We work on integrated village development to try and create systems of hygiene, etc. We work on vocational skills, especially for girls and women, to make them either self-sufficient or earning members of the family, or learn other skills beyond what they already do, to let them choose for themselves what they would like to do with themselves, not be forced into making choices because they don't have any. And the last, and in some sense, personal passion of mine, and I must say education and healthcare is a passion as well, is the focus on arts and culture. Realizing that for any society, any country, any nation state to be considered successful, there are 4 ingredients which are absolutely essential. One is the ability to protect yourselves and your citizens. Second is to become a player in geopolitics. Third is to have a quality and a growing economy. And fourth is to have a strong cultural underpinning and ethos as a nation to anchor yourselves to. On the first 3, we're actually doing quite well in the last few decades. On the last one, unfortunately, we are declining. I saw somebody right now from DASRA. DASRA actually did an interesting research report only some years ago, where they showed that in 30 years, we have lost 30% of our cultural strength. If you look at our artisanal skills, for example, they reside in the rural parts of India. Because they have not been remunerated, because they have not been in touch with the market, so they're not able to make products which the contemporary markets want. Those are declining businesses. Parents who would normally teach their children to get into the same profession are not only not teaching them, they are encouraging their children to get away and do other things. Go to towns, go to cities, become sales girls, become bank tellers, join BPOs, and the like. And when they come to towns and cities, we have another problem. There are not a whole lot of jobs waiting. The infrastructure in the city is already creaking. So it creates a separate additional social burden and a problem. So it is important that we try and revive some of our declining crafts, contemporize those skills. So one of the things that we do as Serendipity Arts, and we are now expanding the scope of what we do, one is to try and democratize the access to arts and culture. Because arts and culture had created these two separate silos, high arts and low arts. High arts seem to have become the exclusive domain of only a few. We would like to open that up to everybody because we all have the same sensibility. It's again about access and opportunity. Second is to encourage revival of the arts and crafts. Third is to encourage philanthropy in culture, because while philanthropy in India is getting better, is getting more organized, and I believe it is essential to run philanthropy in as organized a fashion as any organization business is run, to be effective, to be able to meet your objectives, and to have continuing growing goals for higher and bigger reach. Because scale has a magical quality. So anything that we do, we like to do at scale in the same manner as we run our businesses. In fact, fortunately, many of our not-for-profits are actually run by senior executives who retired from our companies. So these not-for-profits have the same kind of expertise and knowledge base as our companies do. We also use the same process and systems in some of these. In fact, we have set up ERPs in some of these, which seemed to surprise people initially when we did introduce them. But now when they see the benefit, their ability to do more is significantly enhanced. Their ability to measure themselves is better. Their ability to learn from failures. And because, by the way, we do a lot of experimentation. So of course we have lots of failures, but we've never allowed failure to stop us doing more of the same. But do it differently so that next time around you learn from the failure. We use failure as our biggest learning posts. Our attempt now is to use arts and culture also as a bridge to connect India to the region and India to the world. At this moment, we have now just started work on building a permanent establishment in Delhi, which will be amongst the largest art and culture centers in the world. And this is currently in conversation with 40 others like itself around the globe to be able to provide a bridge where people-to-people connection and connection through arts and culture can truly benefit the nations, because defense agreements, business agreements, etc. are good, but it is people who will make the big difference. And eventually we must remember all that we do is eventually for people. Thank you very much.